All right, today we're jumping into a huge question, one that's straight out of science fiction. What exactly is consciousness? And could we ever, really, make a copy of a human mind? You've seen it in the movies a million times, right? Uploading your mind, living on in a computer. But to even get close to that, we first have to figure out the fundamental blueprint of the mind itself. And this is where things get really, really weird. A fascinating new theory suggests the key isn't buried in the wet, messy biology of our brains, but in the clean, abstract, and perfect world of pure geometry. So, to understand that, we have to start with a very strange but absolutely fundamental rule that governs every single living thing on planet Earth. Way back in the 19th century, the legendary Louis Pasteur discovered something profound. He found that molecules made by living things have a handedness. They're asymmetrical, just like your left and right hands are mirror images but not identical. But molecules from non-living things, they come in an equal, random mix of both left and right-handed versions. And this isn't just a fun fact, it turns out to be a foundational rule for life itself.
So why does this one-handed rule matter so much? Well, look at this. Life's molecules are what we call homochiral, meaning they're all the same hand. This lets them stack and fit together perfectly, like Lego bricks, to build complex machinery. Non-living matter, on the other hand, is racemic. It's a chaotic jumble of both hands that just can't build anything stable or complex. It's like trying to build a spiral staircase with bricks that curve in opposite directions. It just doesn't work.
And believe me, this is no accident. The amino acids that build our proteins are, with very few exceptions, all left-handed. The sugars in our DNA and RNA, all right-handed. This consistency, this homochirality, is absolutely essential. It's the only way life's machinery can build and repair itself, a process called autopoiesis, or self-making. Without this strict, one-handed rule, life as we know it simply couldn't get off the ground. Okay, so if this one-handed rule is a non-negotiable for biological life, what about artificial consciousness? This, right here, is where we hit a massive theoretical wall. So here's the fundamental clash. Biological life is built on a very strict physical rule about its hardware. It needs homochiral molecules. But the leading theory for artificial consciousness says the exact opposite, that the physical hardware is totally irrelevant. This big idea is called functionalism, and it's basically the bedrock of most modern AI research. It says consciousness is like software. It's all about the pattern of information, the architecture, and it should be able to run on any hardware you give it, whether that's a brain or a silicon chip. But that leaves us with a giant gaping question. How do you transfer a mind from a system that depends on a very specific physical property to one that doesn't care about the physical stuff at all? So how do we possibly bridge this gap? Well, one really out-there theory turns to a place you'd never expect: pure mathematics. It suggests there's a way to copy the pattern of consciousness without having to copy the actual brain. To get your head around this, let's use a super simple analogy. Imagine you take a glove and you turn it completely inside out. It looks totally different, right? A right-handed glove becomes a left-handed one, but it's still a glove. All the material, all the seams, all the relationships between the parts are perfectly preserved. No information has been lost. Okay, so the fancy mathematical name for this inside-out flip is circle inversion. Imagine a circle. This transformation takes everything inside the circle and maps it to the outside, and everything outside gets mapped to the inside. But here's the magic trick. This transformation is conformal, which is a mathematical way of saying it perfectly preserves all the angles and the local structure of the original shape. And this is the absolute key. Because all the angles are preserved, zero structural information is lost during this flip. That's the whole point. You can totally change what a pattern looks like and where it exists in space while keeping its fundamental blueprint, its essential structure, perfectly intact. Okay, let's just recap for a second. We've got this problem, right? Biological hardware has a specific physical rule that AI hardware doesn't. And we have this wild potential solution, a geometric trick that can copy a pattern without losing a single bit of information. So, how do we put them together? Right. How on earth could a tool from pure geometry actually be used to capture something as ridiculously complex as a human mind and make it transferable? Well, the proposed process basically breaks down into 4 steps. First, you have to think of consciousness not as a thing, but as a 4-dimensional pattern of information. a structure that exists in 3D space and also evolves and changes through the fourth dimension, time. Second, you apply that geometric trick, circle inversion, to this entire 4D pattern. Third, because the transformation preserves all the angles, it saves all the essential relationships and structures within that pattern. And fourth, this transformation effectively creates a reproducible 3D blueprint of that consciousness. It's the pure information, the pure pattern, now totally separate from the brain it came from. All right, let's tie this all together now. What this theory is really trying to do is build a bridge between the messy, physical world's biology and the clean, abstract world of information. So think of it like this. On one side, you've got the biological hardware. That one-handedness, homochirality, is the non-negotiable rule that lets you build the machine in the first place. But consciousness itself is the software, an incredibly intricate pattern of information running on that machine. Circle inversion, in this theory, is the tool that lets you copy that software. It creates a perfect geometric blueprint of its structure, and once you have that blueprint, you could, theoretically, install it on any compatible hardware you want. So, what are the big takeaways from all this? First, all life on our planet is built on a strict physical rule of molecular one-handedness. It's a must-have. Second, our best theories about artificial consciousness say that it's all about the pattern of information, not the physical stuff it's made of. And finally, a very speculative but really elegant geometric tool called circle inversion might just offer a way to bridge that gap by creating a perfect, transferable blueprint of a mind. Look, this is some seriously mind-bending stuff, and yeah, it is very much still a theory. But it forces us to ask a really profound question. If a mind really is just a geometric pattern, what are the limits of what we could eventually copy, transfer, or even create from scratch?